Hello, my quilting friends. I am Maria, and I am here to help you make more quilts in less time with less stress. Now today, I'm not doing quilting. I'm doing something else that I'll be telling you about. But welcome to those of you who like to watch live, and for those of you who watch later, welcome when it's convenient to you. So I'm having a wonderful week, lots and lots of time busy with clients. As you can see, I haven't had a chance to even shower from the job I was on earlier today. But as we're getting closer to the holidays, I'm getting a little bit more time in my schedule, which is great. It means that I'm going to have some more time to work on my son's quilt, parts of which you can see around me here. I don't know what happened to my camera. I'm not zoomed in as far as I used to be, but I'm not going to argue about it. You're going to see more of my messiness, but that's okay. Yes, I get asked this all the time. Since I'm a professional organizer by trade, is your house always perfect? The answer is no. No, I'm a human being. I'm also a quilter, and I live with other people. So my house is never perfect. And that's okay. The biggest problem is when it bothers you. When your clutter is impeding your ability to function, then it's time to get some help, or to make the time to fix it yourself. But a little bit of lived-in look is fine. Nobody needs to live in a mobile home, so please, not mobile home, model home. That was completely wrong, I apologize. But nobody needs to live in a model home, because those homes are not decorated and dressed for reality. So please keep that in mind. The goal here is just going to be to have a good time, to do some sewing, to hang out a little bit, and see kind of what happens. Some updates. I am continuing to work on my son's quilt. I have not done any more sewing on it recently because holidays and everything else going on. I have not had my giant table set up in the living room for ironing and that kind of thing, and my cutting. Also, I have someone who is going to be staying with me for a couple weeks as she recovers from surgery. So I am preparing to host her and to help make her more comfortable. Is why I'm making the project I'm making today. So I'm making a mock-up today, and I'll explain it more later. But that's what I'm sewing today instead of quilting. I am hoping to actually get in more quilting time, but a lot of it's going to be in cutting, and I'm not going to be doing that in front of you. I have another quilt camp coming up in February, and I would love to have a lot more houses already pre-cut. For those of you who haven't seen it before, oh wait a minute, I'm in wide. That's why I'm so much larger. Okay, sorry. So let's go back to the wide view, and it's gotten moved a little bit. So I'm going to move my camera so you can see more. Nope, there's still more. It's behind my monitor, so that's why it's hard to tell. No. Alright, I'm going to do this a different way. Let me bring this back down and go back to my normal. Okay, am I centered like I'm supposed to be? Close enough. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch cameras, and I'll be able to show you more what I've done. Okay. that here in Northern Virginia, we're not going to have any more days 90 to 99. So it's okay for me to go ahead and mark the yellow as finished. Well, right now, I'm also figuring that for the most part, we've probably gotten all the 80-degree days we're going to have. So I'm cutting out the rest of the oranges that I need to complete that group, which is another 50. I did 34, and as of right now, I need 84 houses that were in the 80s. Then as the temperatures drop, I'll just get the number I need to finish. Now, I do have a few extra houses. That's fine. Those could become pillowcases. They may go on the back. I don't know what I'm going to do with the extras. But by having the entire color family done, I'll be able to spread the colors out so I don't have all the pale ones here and the dark ones here, which is why they're not all numbered and placed already. I'm hoping in February to have cut out all my oranges and reds by then. The anniversary is 2 days after quilt camp ends, so I should know almost everything by then. I may not do February, those 2 weeks of February, until later, but if I have everything cut out, then I'll be able to sew as much as possible during quilt camp in order to get as much as possible done in advance of the anniversary date. Now, the kids know it's a temperature quilt. They know it's for the first year of their marriage. So that means that they know that they can't see any of this until then. It means I can't collect all of the data till mid-February, and it'll be at least a year, I told them, before they're going to get their quilt. So they'll get it on their second anniversary. But I'm including a lot of things that pertain to their first year of marriage. Places that they've gone, some things that they love to do. So I think that overall they're going to appreciate it. But given all of the little details and all of this stuff, that feel free to go back and listen. I've talked about this a ton. I think that it'll be worth it. But like I said, I'll be cutting out the pieces for all of those houses and not worrying about getting as much of the sewing done, because all the fabrics need to still be washed, pressed, etc. out of my scraps that haven't already been washed. But even the ones that are washed, if they haven't been processed, they have to be processed. So there's quite a bit to it. And I'm not sure how much time I'm going to have when my friend is here. So I don't know that I'm going to get much done, honestly. The surgery, her surgery, I'm going to tell you that because it's so important to the rest of that, is January 2nd. So it'll be just before the 7th when I'll be here with you guys again. And so it's 3 weeks from today. And so she's going to be at the beginning of her recovery, which is the most painful part, and her room is on the other side of this wall. So I don't think I'm going to be doing any sewing while she's here because I don't want to disturb her. I'm hoping to have things prepared so I can do some cutting downstairs. But since I don't know how much time she's going to need and how much help she's going to need, I'm leaving those 2 weeks from the 2nd, the 2nd through the 16th completely free. And if she needs to stay a little longer, it'll be after that as well. So I'm just saying, relax it. We'll do what we need to do, but there won't be any sewing then either, which means I need to have even more cut out in preparation for February. So that's the bulk of what I'm going to be doing. So I did mention that she's going in for surgery. She's getting a radical double mastectomy. And so in order to make her more comfortable, what I'm sewing today is a mastectomy pillow. And when I was looking at them online, I noticed that, because I was thinking, maybe ordering one either from one of the major companies or from Etsy or something like that. But when I could find measurements, and I looked at them, I'm like, this might be a little small. When I measured her, they're all too small. And so that would leave her hunched forward like this, which is going to be a problem with her scarring. So I want her to be able to put her shoulders in a neutral position. The pillow goes behind the shoulder as well to keep her from letting them go too far back and pulling on the scars in the front. But it's still an issue. So I want to make sure that she's comfortable throughout this whole process. So I took her measurements, and I'm very glad that I did, because they don't work with the ones that we had. I'm going to move again. Hold on. Let's see if I can get a little bit more centered. Here we go. That's better. Okay, so I want her to be as comfortable as possible, so I am taking her measurements to make her an individualized pillow, and I'm going to have the chance to beta test it because her surgery is in January, and I'll be seeing her between now and then. I'll be able to actually test the mock-up on her. Yes, her breasts are currently in the way, but the measurements across the top here are the most important. So does it fit here? Because it's got to come up a bit, and then around the back. So let me actually show you the pattern. Let me go back to wide, and then I'll back up a little bit. So this is what it looks like. So in the front, it goes like this, then it goes under the armpits, and then behind. Now, she hates anything up here around her neck, so I also added this little dip to give her a little bit more space. Then it comes down, and there'll be pockets here. One side of this is going to be a faux fur, the other side is going to be a quilting cotton, and then each side will have pockets. So whichever side she wants against her, it'll feel the same. And then the other side will have pockets for things like the drainage log and all the other stuff that she needs to keep track of, plus her phone. You know, she's in her 30s, so the phone is her lifeline and life. So this is the shape. Oops, I just tore it, but that's okay. That's what paper is all about. It gets taped. So assuming that this fits, what I'll be able to do is make another one of these as a cover for the mock-up, and then I'll be able to take that off and wash it, or she'll be able to take it off and wash it, and then put it back on, and it'll fit the shape of the pillow. The reason for the washability is sometimes there's leaks from the drainage tubes, or she's going to have this thing for a long time, so I think it's going to be something like 3 months that she's going to want to use this, and it'll just get grubby. So being able to take the top off and do it would be best. And if this doesn't fit, this is some flannel, it's gingham. I'm not a huge fan of gingham, so the worst comes to worst, it's now going to be processed for scraps instead of being in my yardage. But, you know, it's a nice pale purple gingham, so if she likes it, then she can have it without a cover. But I think depending on her mood, she may want to have that fur on her arms as an extra snuggly, or she may want it up against her skin once the vest comes off. So I want to make it very comfortable for her in both ways. The pockets will be sewn, so it'll be one big pocket, and I'm thinking I may either put buttons or snaps so that the ice packs can get put wherever they're wanted. The professional ones have specific sized pockets that you put the ice packs in, but what happens if you want something more in the middle? So I think I'm just going to put one big giant pocket on, and then have some way to just have it close at the top. I might even Velcro, I don't know. But by doing that, I think it'll make her a little bit more comfortable as well. And she won't have to worry about exactly where is the pouch. So that's kind of the idea. So right now, let me move my camera. I've started sewing. Let's switch to than your crafter type, and then there's the I made this at home type. Some of which are quite pretty in terms of the fabrics that they picked, etc. It was just the sizing, which is why I didn't buy one. But I do not know who to credit with the basic shape and design, so unfortunately I cannot do that today. I would prefer to, but it's not an option. I don't think that they would mind me telling you about it. You can go online and find these things. But some of them are really expensive. Some of them are not. But all of them that someone else makes is sized for the consumer market. So they're going to ship it out, that same shape, design, and size, to 50 people. So they're not going to custom make them. And that's a little bit different. And none of them had the neck cut out that I put on. I don't know if it's going to work. We'll know more once she starts using it. But, you know, she's like me, she doesn't like turtlenecks. This is a high neck for me, and it does bother me. I much prefer a lower neckline so I don't feel as strangled. But when I was ordering t-shirts, this is what they had. And too much of my team can't wear v-necks, so the reason for that, I don't let people wear v-necks, is because we're professional organizers. When we lean forward, you get gappage. And I definitely do not want the members of my team to be the entertainment for some of our clients. And that happens. So it's kind of a safety feature to me to know that that the shirts are not something that could potentially cause problems for one of my people. Even if it means I'm not comfortable in it as much as I'd like to be. Okay. I'm hoping the sound is working okay this time. It didn't, but I haven't seen... Oh, let me go back to where I can see the chat. Oh, no sound? Oh, now you can. Second camera still has no sound. Okay. It's definitely the second camera then. Alright, I thought I had that fixed. Thank you, Gemini June. I'm going to have to look at that. Unfortunately, the main person I would go to ask for that is my son, which means with all the stuff up on the wall, now's not a good time for him to be seeing. Okay. Well, hopefully this isn't too bad, and we're on camera 1 now, so I will have to find out why camera 2's sound is not working. Because it should be, and it used to. So what I may wind up needing to do at some point is get a completely separate mic, because right now I'm using the mics that come on the camera. So, because with manipulating all of the fabric and all that, having this big microphone right here, I think could be a problem. But it's going to be what it's going to be. So, okay, so I have trimmed out all the way around my piece. What I was saying when I was on camera 2 is that I've cut approximately a 1/2 inch seam allowance, because that's what it came out to. And like I said earlier, I'm not all that worried about the exact seam allowance in this case, because I sewed on my sew line, so it means a little bit less hassle. I'm also comfortable with a 1/2 inch, because when I'm sewing like flying geese, if they are specific and I'm using the rectangle and square method, then I sew a 1/2 inch away from my original line, cut down the middle, and I wind up with a flying goose and 2 half square triangles. So the half square triangles go over here into my bin, and then I make half square triangle quilts. So that all works out pretty well. So I have finished this, so now I am going to go ahead. Well, you mostly need to clip inside. No. Yes, you clip insides. I don't know that I'm going to need to clip these. I think I'm going to anyway. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and clip these corners, even though they're fairly gentle and should lie down okay. And I'm not going to worry about getting exactly to the seam line. I'm going to get close, just so I can get it to overlap a little bit on the inside and lay a little bit flatter. I tend to not clip, I'll be honest with you. Of course, I don't do that much with curves. Oops, I got my finger in the way. I did not cut my finger, but it meant that I couldn't get to the corner. Okay. Let me do the other one. Those two definitely don't need it. These ones, they're gradual enough here that that won't be a problem. I'll just put one in each corner. Not that it's a real corner, but... and that will be fine. If this passes, then another thing that I'll do for strength is I will top stitch around from the right side to give it that extra ability for when I stuff it. When she pushes, she's not going to pop any seams. I just know that whenever I'm trying to apply pressure, I'm only thinking about pain, and so I'm not thinking about construction methods. So I'm going to try to make this as sturdy as I can, so no matter what, whether it's her or Scott or myself sometime in the future, we'll be able to get this done. Okay, so I clipped them, and now it's time to turn it right side out. On this side. I actually left a pretty decent hole here. I'm usually struggling with these because I tend to leave far too small a hole. Okay, so now that it's right side out for the most part, I'm just going to reach in to get these corners turned. I have a little tool. That I honestly just dropped in this bucket earlier today. In this box. So, it's not in a convenient spot, of course. Where are you? One of my Quilt Guild members makes these. Alright, I put it somewhere else, so it was a little bit further away. Sorry. She makes these. And they're really, really handy for turning corners and things. If you're interested in this sort of a product, she 3D prints them. I've mentioned it on the show before. She does a ruler holder. She does a binding holder, and she makes these little pokey things, as well as a bunch of other stuff specifically for quilters. So I'm just getting in here and trying to get this corner out all the way. Since it's flannel, it's fighting a little bit more. And of course, I'm not worried about getting a perfect corner. It's a pillow, for crying out loud. But that's one. And then this is a little too narrow for my hand because I have a big hand. So I'm actually going to tackle this one more from the outside. Now that I have the tool in there, I can do that. Again, it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. But I will also be seeing her at Christmas, and that's when I'll get to fit this to her and see how close I got. I did really appreciate that she sent me all the post-op instructions so that I'll have them. Make sure that I have everything on hand that she's going to need. We already had some of the stuff like the drainage pads and that kind of stuff. Oh, that's the neck. That's why it's doing that weird thing. Okay. I was like, I got this weird fold. Well, yeah, I put it in there. Sometimes. Okay. So this ought to be a lot easier. Oh, first I have to turn this part. That makes sense. This is the other side of the armpit. So it's like, why is it being so clumpy? Well, that's why, because I didn't do the first turn. That's why the neck wasn't acting right. Okay. That's that. All right. Then we come down into the neck. Well, you guys said you wanted to see me do some other stuff, so here you go. Something weird that I'm doing. Well, weird is the wrong word. That sounds pejorative. Something unusual that I don't normally do. But I'm hoping that she likes it and that it helps her. I took a whole raft of measurements from her that she wasn't expecting. I did warn her I was taking measurements, though, before she came over. I wasn't that mean. But I explained to her what it was for, and we talked about the fact that there's going to be the drainage. And something that is also available for sale are basically surgical shirts. They're kind of, they're made out of the same material as scrubs, but they button down the front or snap down the front. And you put pockets on the inside that hold the drainage bulbs. And so I asked her if she'd like me to do something like that with her. So she is buying some bulbs, not some bulbs, some shirts. And then once we have the bulbs, because I don't know their sizes yet, I've been trying to find the actual measurements for them online, and nobody will give them to me. They talk about how many cc's they hold, but they don't mention the actual dimensions of the things. So I can't really do that until she's here, but that'll be a quick hand stitch job to just throw some pockets on the inside of a flannel shirt or something, just to make it more comfortable. Okay. Okay. That's that. Obviously I need to press it so that it looks right, but it goes like this, and then under the armpits and around to the back side. So that's it. That's my project for today. I will press it now, and then I will fill it over the next couple of days, and then it's going to be about 2 weeks before I see her, so I have plenty of time to do that. And like I said, I'm just going to fill basically from the armpits up, because this part should fit her, and we should know where the armpits are going, even with the breasts in place. It'll be a little bit snugger than it should be, but it should be close. And then once they're gone, then obviously it'll be flat, and it'll fit better. And I think I may put some Velcro tabs, the loop part on here and here, and then make an elastic that would allow her to have shoulder straps or a waist strap. So if she wants to walk around, it would be on her, and then if she started to cough, she'd have it with her. Because unfortunately, coughing is a post-surgery thing, almost regardless of what kind of surgery you have. So that ought to help with that, sneezing and coughing. And with all this dry air we've got from it being so cold and us being inside, I think that it should make her more comfy. Okay, let me see what else. I booked a couple more speaking gigs, so that may be changing what we're doing here. But if you've made it this far, know that we are usually talking quilting, and I also ramble and tell you what's going on in my life and little projects like this. Sometimes sewing. I have some other projects that are not sewing that I think that I'll be trying to do here again in the future as well. And we'll see how that goes. But in the responses that I got from the emails, it does seem that most of you like it when I do that sort of stuff. So that's what we're going to do. I have not made the survey for next year's quilt. I don't know when that's going to happen. I apologize. It may not be till January. May not be till the end of January, the way things are going right now. But we will have something to do next year. If there's something in particular you'd like to have, before I even send out the survey, let me know. If you want to just do something with squares, you want something super simple, you want to do something that's really fast for charity, you want to do something that's got millions of little tiny pieces, and so you'd like to have a design for that, I can do that. But all in all, I do love it when people get on the chat. I do like it when people send me emails. My email is mail, M-A-I-L, at StashBlasterQuilts.com. And you're welcome to email me at any time with organizing questions, quilting questions, anything that you'd like along those lines. I have promised my husband that I will not answer questions that would make him blush, which is not that hard to do, because he doesn't blush that easily. But no, I'm not going to tell you financials. I'm not going to tell you about, our marriage, that kind of stuff. But I'm happy to answer your questions about organizing, planning, goal setting, all that kind of stuff. And this is the time of year for that. If you've made it this far and you don't already subscribe, please feel free to subscribe, hit the bell, all of that stuff. We meet the first and third Wednesday of the month. And if I don't have anything to say, we end early, like we're going to today. But I always stop at 8 o'clock, even mid-project, because I want to respect your time and not take more than the hour. That's an hour on the actual screen. I do start the live stream about 15 minutes early, so people get the alert and they can get settled and be ready to sit down and watch. So if this is your first time, welcome, and that's why I had that 15 minutes at the beginning. And it's somewhere in the 15-20 minute range usually. But then we're here. So thank you all for coming. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope that your Christmas holidays, Hanukkah, Happy Hanukkah for those of us that celebrate. Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever it is that makes your heart glow, please enjoy it. Have a wonderful, healthy, and safe New Year. And I will be seeing you the first Wednesday of January. Okay? So take care, everybody, and have a wonderful time. Bye-bye.